throne room of Velthera stood silent. The walls were made of shining silver stone, and the air was filled with sadness. Queen Lyra, ruler of the Veltheran Empire, sat on her high throne. Her eyes, once bright with pride, now looked empty. For 3 galactic cycles, nearly 6 Earth years, her daughter, Princess Scylla, had been missing. No one had found her. No one had heard from her. The queen held a small crystal locket in her hand. Inside it was a picture of young Scylla, smiling in her royal robes. Lyra pressed it to her chest and closed her eyes. "I should have protected her," she whispered. Her royal advisors stood nearby, silent and unsure what to say. One of them, a tall alien general named Vorn, stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "we have searched every star system. No trace of the princess was found. It is time we accept the truth." Queen Lyra opened her eyes and stared at him. "The truth?" she asked. "You mean give up?" Vorn lowered his head. "We believe she was taken by the Garnock. If that is true, she is already gone." The name Garnock brought a heavy silence to the room. The Garnock were an insect-like species. They lived far beyond the known space. They were feared for their cruelty and for never leaving survivors. Just then, the doors of the throne room opened. A human man walked in. He was tall, strong, and wore a black space uniform with a silver Earth badge on his chest. His name was Commander Jack Riven, a warrior from Earth who had come to Velthara as part of a peace program. Everyone turned to look at him. Some of the alien guards placed their hands on their weapons. Humans were still strangers in this part of the galaxy, but Jack walked calmly to the queen and gave a respectful bow. "Your Majesty," he said, "I heard about your daughter." Queen Lyra looked at him without emotion. "And what would a human know about my pain?" Jack didn't take offense. He nodded slowly. "Nothing, perhaps. But I do know about loss. I lost my sister during Earth's war with the Trilax, and I never stopped looking for her. Until the end." The queen watched him silently. Jack stepped closer. "Let me go after your daughter," he said. "Let me find her." The room went quiet. The advisors stared at him in disbelief. General Vorn stepped forward again. "No one returns from Garnock space," he warned. "Many of our best warriors tried. All failed. You are just one human." Jack met his gaze without fear. "Then maybe one is enough." Queen Lyra rose from her throne. She stepped down and stood before Jack. Her tall, graceful form towered over him. Her eyes searched his face. "Why?" she asked. "Why would a human risk his life for a princess of another world?" Jack thought for a moment. Then he said, "Because no one else is." The queen looked at him for a long time. Then slowly, she nodded.
"And you may go," she said.
"But know this, if you fail, no rescue will come for you. You will be alone." "I understand," Jack replied. Queen Lyra raised her hand. A hologram flickered to life, showing a map of space. A red circle blinked in the far corner. "Believe the last signal from Scylla came from this region," she said. "It is near the edge of Garnock territory." Jack studied the map. "That's all I need." The next day, Jack stood on the launch pad. The ship, the Wraith, was ready. Sleek and black, it was built for speed and stealth. Beside him floated Echo, a small round drone with blinking blue eyes. Echo had been Jack's partner through many missions. "You sure about this?" Echo asked in a light voice. "You know the Garnock aren't friendly?" Jack smiled. "That's why I'm bringing you." Echo beeped. "I should have stayed on Earth," as the ship rose into the sky. Jack looked out one last time at the silver towers of Velthara. He didn't know what waited for him in Garnock. Space. He didn't know if Scylla was even alive. But he had made a promise to himself and to the queen. The journey through deep space was long and quiet. Stars passed by like frozen fire. Jack used old signal data from the queen to track possible locations. He followed energy trails, listened to broken messages, and searched through abandoned outposts. Every sign pointed deeper into the dark corner of space. Finally, on the edge of a dying star system, he found something. A silent moon orbited a dead planet. It was cold, hidden by magnetic storms, and nearly invisible to scanners. but Jack saw. It stopped. The surface was covered in black metal towers. Strange shapes moved in the shadows. Jack narrowed his eyes. "Echo," he said. "I think we found Garnock Prime." Echo beeped nervously. "Yay, we're gonna die." Jack smiled grimly. "I'm not." Today, Commander Jack Riven stood at the front window of his ship, the Wraith, as it drifted silently near the black moon. The surface below was covered in sharp towers and dark buildings. No lights, no signals. The entire place looked dead, but Jack knew better. "This is it," he said quietly. Echo, the small floating drone beside him, blinked its blue eyes. "You're sure this is the Garnock base?" Jack nodded. "They hide deep. That means something valuable is inside. Or something dangerous," Echo muttered. Jack suited up. His armor was light but strong, colored dark gray to blend into shadows. He loaded a plasma rifle, a short blade, and a scanner. Echo flew around him, checking the systems. The ship's landing gear touched down between tall spikes of black stone. Jack opened the door and stepped out. The ground was dry and cracked, as if the place had not seen sunlight in years. Thick fog floated low over the ground. "Stay close," Jack whispered to Echo. They moved quickly through the ruins. The buildings looked part machine, part bone. Garnock design was unlike anything human or Veltharant, welted and cold. The doors were made of chitin. The walls pulsed slightly as if alive. Jack scanned the area. Faint life signs were deep underground. "She's down there," he said. "How can you be sure?" Echo asked. Jack touched the side of his helmet. "Queen gave me a sample of her DNA. The scanner found a match." They reached a tall gate, sealed shut with thick black roots. Jack took out a heat cutter and began slicing through. The gate hissed as it opened, revealing a long tunnel that led deep into the moon. Jack and Echo entered without a word. The tunnel twisted like the inside of a creature's throat. The walls were covered in strange carvings, pictures of battles, cages, and tall, insect-like gods. Echo floated nervously behind Jack. "I don't like this place," Echo whispered. "Neither do I." "God," Jack replied. As they walked deeper, they heard distant clicking sounds. Garnock guards. Jack hid behind a pillar and waited. Two creatures passed by, tall and thin, with armored shells and long limbs. Their eyes glowed faint green in the dark. Jack moved silently behind them. When the time was right, he struck. One. Garnock dropped with a silent shot. The other turned, but Jack used his blade fast and clean. Both fell before they could raise an alarm. "Still got it," Jack whispered. Echo hovered over the fallen guards. "Creepy bugs." Jack pressed on. Now deeper underground, past rows of cells, some empty, some with broken glass. He saw creatures from many races, Veltharon, humans, others he didn't recognize. Some were alive, weak, and scared. Others were not. "This place is a grave," Jack said. They reached a special door, locked with an energy field. Jack used a hacked device to disable it. Inside the room was dark and cold. A single figure sat in the corner, motionless. Jack stepped forward. Princess Scylla. The figure flinched. Slowly she lifted her head. Her face was tired, her eyes dull. But Jack recognized her from the picture the Queen showed him. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. Scylla looked confused. "Who are you?" "Commander Jack Riven. Your mother sent me." Scylla stared at him. Voice was rough. "I thought I was forgotten." "Never," Jack said. He knelt and placed a hand on her shoulder. "I'm here to take you home." She looked away. "They broke my mind. I can still hear them." Jack helped her stand. "Then you know." Scylla leaned on him. She was weak from years of hunger and pain, but there was fire in her eyes now. "Can you walk?" Jack asked. "I will try." They moved carefully through the tunnels, but Garnock patrols were now active. Echo warned them, "We've got company, lots of it." The Garnock had discovered the dead guards. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed through. The halls. "We need to run," Jack said. Scylla nodded. "Follow me. I know a quicker way." Despite her weakness, she remembered the layout of the prison. She guided Jack through narrow paths and secret doors that Garnock thought she had forgotten. They reached the exit, but a loud screech stopped them. The warden had arrived. The warden was twice the size of other Garnock. Its head was crowned with sharp horns. It carried a heavy staff, glowing with blue light. "You dare steal what is ours," it hissed. Jack stepped forward, rifle ready. "She doesn't belong to you." The warden raised its staff, and a blast of energy hit Jack's armor, sending him crashing into a wall. His weapon fell. Silas screamed, "No." The warden turned to her, raising the staff again. But Echo buzzed forward and shot a flash grenade. Blinding the creature for a second, Jack rose to his feet, grabbed his blade, and rushed forward. He slashed across the warden's chest. Sparks flew, but the warden was strong. It grabbed Jack and threw him across the room. Jack lay still, barely able to move. His vision blurred. "Go. Get to the ship." Scylla looked at him, then at the warden. She picked up Jack's dropped rifle. Her hands shook, but her aim was steady. She fired. Once, twice. The warden screamed in pain and fell. She ran to Jack. "You saved me, now I save you." Back on the surface, they reached the Wraith. Echo opened the door. Jack collapsed into the pilot's seat. Scylla helped him, then looked out at the black moon one last time. "Let's go home," she said. The ship rose into the dark sky, leaving the nightmare behind. Commander Jack Riven sat in the pilot's seat of the Wraith, sweat on his forehead and pain shooting through his shoulder. The blast from the warden had hit hard, but he was still alive. Thanks to SYL, a Princess Scylla, though weak and bruised, now sat beside him, watching the stars through the window. Her face showed no fear, only quiet strength. Echo hovered above them nervously. "Jack, more Garnock ships are coming. We need to get out of here." "I'm working on it," Jack said. Fingers moving over the ship controls, the Wraith lifted into space, engines glowing. But in the distance, black shapes were closing in, Garnock patrol cruisers. Their sharp, insect-like forms grew larger on the screen. "They've launched 5 ships," Echo warned. "Fast ones." Scylla leaned forward. "Can we outrun them?" Smirked. "We can try." The Wraith burst forward into open space, moving between broken asteroids and dust clouds. Jack pushed the ship to its limit. The engines screamed as they flew through narrow gaps and spinning rocks. The Garnock ships followed, firing energy blasts that lit up the dark sky. One bolt grazed the side of the Wraith, shaking the ship. "We can't keep this up," Echo said. "No," Jack replied. "Prepare countermeasures." Dropped metal pods behind the ship, exploded with flashes of light, confusing the enemy's sensors. 2 Garnock ships lost control and crashed into a floating asteroid. But 3 were still behind them. Jack turned sharply, diving through a narrow canyon in a nearby moon's surface. The walls were tight, the ship barely fitting. Scylla watched silently. "You fly like a warrior," Jack chuckled. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me this week." After several long minutes of high-speed flying, Jack spotted an old debris field ahead. Broken ships floated silently, remains from an old battle between the Veltharan and the Garnock. "We'll hide there," he said. He slowed the ship and powered down most systems. The Wraith drifted into the debris. The Garnock ship scanned the area but didn't find them. Slowly, one by one, they flew past. Jack waited until the radar was clear. Then he let out a breath. "We're safe. For now." Scylla turned to him. "You came all this way for me." "Why?" Jack looked at her, surprised by the question. "Your mother never gave up hope. I couldn't ignore that." She nodded slowly. "I almost gave up. In that place, the Garnock broke many prisoners. I remembered her voice and the stars. Dreamed of them every night." Jack smiled gently. "But you're strong." "No," Scylla said. "I was scared every day. But I waited for someone to come, and you did." Echo beeped. Okay. This is sweet, but we still need repairs. One engine's half dead." Jack stood up. "I'll fix it." "Scylla, get some rest." We still have a long way to go. While Jack worked in the engine room, Sela walked quietly through the ship. She touched the walls, looked at the human tools, and studied the small pictures taped above Jack's bed, one of Earth, one of a family, and one of a dog. She smiled. Jack returned. He found her sitting in the lounge area, looking at the stars through the glass. Feeling better? He asked. She nodded. This ship, it feels alive, like a home. It's been my home for years, Jack said, sitting across from her. Sometimes I wonder what it's like to stay in one place. Sela looked at him. After all this, what will you do? Jack shrugged. Maybe go back to Earth. Maybe stay in Velthara, if they let me. Sela stared at the stars. I want to see more worlds, not just as a princess, as a person. Jack looked at her carefully. You'll get that chance. Suddenly, a red light flashed on the screen. Echo shouted, "They're back." Cruiser just entered the system. They must have traced our path. Jack jumped to the controls. We're not ready for another fight. Silas stood beside him. What do we do? Jack's fingers moved quickly. We use the gravity well of the nearest star. It'll slingshot us out of range. But we only get one shot. He set the course. The ship turned toward the red glow of a dying sun. As they flew closer, the Garnock cruiser fired. A blast shook the ship, damaging one wing. Stabilizers offline, Eco cried. Just hold together, Jock shouted. The ship began to spin as it reached the edge of the star's gravity field. Sela held onto a handle, eyes wide. Oh, Jack. Jack hit the thrusters. The Wraith shot forward like a comet, pulled by the star's power, and then launched into deep space at high speed. The Garnock cruiser tried to follow but couldn't handle the force. It spun into the sun's gravity and disappeared into the fire. Jack cheered. That's how we do it. Sela laughed, the first real laugh in years. You're not just a warrior, you're crazy. Jack grinned. Takes both to survive out here. Hours later, the ship moved quietly through calm space. The danger was gone. For now, Sela stood beside the window, watching the stars. Jack came up beside her. We'll reach Velthara in 2 days. Your mother will be waiting. Sela nodded. I don't know what to say to her. Say what's in your heart, Jack said. Sela turned to him, and to you. Jack looked surprised. What do you mean? She smiled softly. You saved me. Not just from them, but from being forgotten. Jack looked away, a little shy. You saved me too. I forgot what I was fighting for until I met you. Echo floated between them. Okay, this is getting emotional. Can we go back to shooting things? They both laughed. Outside, the stars lit their path home. The stars outside were calm and quiet, but inside the Wraith, tension filled the air. Commander Jack Riven sat in the pilot's seat, watching the blinking red light on the radar screen. They found us again, said quietly. Princess Silas stood beside him. Her face was serious. The Garnock, Jack nodded. One of their scout ships is tracking us. It's staying out of firing range, just watching, waiting. Echo floated in the air above them. This is the third time they've appeared then. Disappeared. They're following our trail. Jack looked at the scanner carefully. They're not trying to stop us.
Ow.
They're studying our route. Like they're planning something. Sila frowned. I want to know where I'm going. Jack turned toward her. They know you escaped. Now they want to know where you'll land. Maybe they plan to strike Velthara. Sila's hands clenched into fists. They won't hurt my people again. We won't let them, Jack said. But we can't lead them straight to your planet either. We need to shake them off first. Jack changed the ship's course, guiding the Wraith into a nearby nebulon, enormous cloud of gas and dust. Side, the scanners would be blind. Ships would have to fly by sight alone. It's a risk, Echo said. If we get lost in there, we might never get out. Still better than giving the Garnock what they want. The ship entered the nebula. Bright blue and purple clouds swirled outside the windows. Lightning sparked in the distance, lighting up strange shapes, shrocky fragments, broken ships, and unknown creatures floating in the mist. Silas stared in awe. It's beautiful and dangerous, like you, Jack replied with a grin. Sila blushed slightly, but smiled back. You flatter too easily, human. Inside the nebula, the ship became quiet. The engines were slowed to avoid detection. Jack flew carefully, turning between rocky paths and using the shadows to hide. For a while, they saw no signs of pursuit. But just as hope started to return, Echo beeped. Something's following us. No signals, but I can hear the noise. Like wings, our claws, scraping metal. Jack scanned the fog ahead. Prepare for trouble. Suddenly a shadow appeared beside the ship, a Garnock hunter craft, long and sharp like a spear. It had no engines, only moving wings that sliced silently through space. It's alive, Scylla whispered. The hunter ship struck like lightning, hitting the Wraith on its side. Sparks flew. The control panel blinked red. We're hit, Echo shouted. Jack fought to keep control. Brace yourselves. The ship twisted and fell into a spinning dive. Alarms blared. Jack slammed a switch, releasing a burst of heat flares. The hunter ship backed off for a moment. That bought us a few seconds, Jack said, breathing hard. Scylla jumped into the gunner's seat. Let me help. She aimed carefully through the fog. When the shadow came close again, she fired a blast of plasma. It struck the hunter's wing, sending it crashing into a floating rock. Nice shot, Jack called out. Scylla smiled. I remember how to fight. But before they could rest, Echo cried out, another one coming, bigger this time. Through the mist, a massive Garnock battleship appeared. Its mouth opened, revealing sharp energy. Weapons. It had found them. We can't fight that, Jack said. We need to disappear. He spotted a swirling tunnel of blue gas ahead. That storm might lead us out, but it's unstable. Scylla looked at him. Let's take the chance. Turn the ship toward the storm. The Garnock ship followed, firing blasts that shook the entire vessel. As they entered the tunnel, winds howled around them. The ship rattled. Screens flashed. For a moment, everything went white, then silence. The Wraith floated in a quiet corner of space. The nebula was behind them, far away now. Echo blinked slowly. We're alive? Jack laughed. Yes, and I think we lost them. Scylla sat back, her heart still pounding. That was too close. Jack nodded. Too close. But we're clear. Now, we can finally head home. Later, as the ship flew calmly through open space, Jack and Scylla sat together near the front window. Scylla stared at the stars. When I was in the prison, I used to imagine this, being free again. Seeing the stars. Jack leaned back in his chair. What did they do to you? She was quiet for a moment. They tried to make me forget who I was. They used machines, poisons, and lies. But I held on to one thing, my mother's voice. I remembered her singing. When I was young, that's what kept me alive. Jack listened quietly. Scylla continued, and when I heard your voice, when you said she sent you, I knew I wasn't alone anymore. Jack looked at her. You were never alone. You're part of something greater, and now you're going home. Scylla smiled, but her eyes were filled with sadness too. Will she even recognize me? She will, Jack said. No, she never stopped believing. As the ship neared Velthera star system, Echo brought news. We're being hailed by Veltheran defense forces, Jack answered. A hologram appeared, showing a tall alien officer. His eyes widened when he saw Scylla. Princess Scylla, the officer said with emotion. You're alive. I am, she said gently, coming home. The skies over Velthera were clear and shining. Twin moons floated above the royal city as the Wraith descended slowly from space. It passed over the tall silver towers, glowing gardens, and crystal blue lakes of the alien capital. Inside the ship, Commander Jack Riven stood quietly, adjusting his uniform. He had cleaned the dust from his armor, but couldn't hide the scars on his arms or the tiredness in his eyes. Princess Scylla stood beside him, wearing a long white robe. Her silver hair flowed behind her, and her back was straight even after. Everything. Jack looked at her. Are you ready? Scylla nodded. I've waited for this moment for years. Echo hovered nearby, looking serious for once. Let's hope your mother doesn't blast us for bringing you back late. Scylla smiled. Gently, she won't. The ship landed softly in the royal courtyard. A group of guards and nobles waited there, dressed in bright colors. At the front stood Queen Lyra, her eyes wide with hope and fear. The ramp lowered. Jack stepped out first. Then Scylla appeared. A gasp moved through the crowd. Some people dropped. To their knees, the queen took one slow step forward, then another, and finally ran. She reached her daughter and wrapped her in a deep embrace. Scylla closed her eyes and held on tightly. "My child," the queen whispered, tears falling. From her eyes, "You're alive. You came back to me." Scylla smiled, her voice soft. "I never stopped hearing your voice." The people around them watched in silence. Many were crying. Others were simply stunned. Later that day, Jack stood in the grand hall of the palace. Tall glass windows filled the space with golden light. Alien paintings showed stories of past queens, past wars, and past heroes. But Jack didn't feel like a hero. He felt like an outsider. Guards stood near the walls. Elthran nobles whispered among themselves. They looked at him with cold eyes, some full of doubt, others with quiet dislike. Then the royal council entered the hall. The queen sat in her throne again, regal and composed. Scylla stood beside her. One of the elder council members, a man with sharp features, stepped forward. His name was Lord Kale. He looked at Jack. "Commander Riven. A human soldier enters Garnock space, turns with our missing princess, and brings tales of invasion. Many would call that suspicious." Jack raised his head. "What part do you doubt, my mission or my success?" Kale's voice was calm but sharp. "I doubt that a human could do what our best warriors could not, and I wonder what price was paid in return." Silas stepped forward. There was no price. He risked his life for mine. He was wounded, hunted, and outnumbered, but he never gave up. Kale frowned. "And yet we must take his word alone. That is not enough for a council judgment." Jack's hands clenched. "I didn't come here for rewards or praise. I came to return her home and to warn you." He turned toward the queen. "The Garnock are watching. They followed us across systems. They may be planning more than abductions now. War is coming." A murmur moved through the hall. Some of the council looked nervous. Others whispered too, each other quickly. Queen Lyra stood. Her voice was calm but strong. "I believe him." Kale shook his head. "Even if true, we cannot act on one voice." Scylla stepped forward again. "Then act on mine." She turned to the entire council. "I was held in darkness. I saw what the Garnock do to others. I saw their experiments, their soldiers, their plans. They're building something. They want to break the peace we've worked so hard to protect." She looked at Jack. "And this human, this warrior, risked everything to bring me back. Not for gold, not for power, for hope." Queen Lyra raised her hand. "That is enough." The hall grew silent. She looked at Jack. "You are not one of us. And yet you have done more than many born in this land. You returned my daughter. You brought a warning. And you reminded us of what it means to fight for what's right." She reached into her robes and took out a small golden medal shaped like a star. "I offer you the Starfire Medal of Elthera as highest honor." The guard stepped forward and the medal was placed around Jack's neck. He bowed his head, surprised and silent. Echo beeped softly. "I think I'm going to cry, and I don't even have eyes." The nobles clapped slowly, some with respect, others with confusion. But the queen's word was law. Jack stepped back and stood quietly beside Echo. That evening, a celebration was held. Music echoed across the palace gardens. Colorful lights danced in the sky. Veltharan children ran through flower paths, while elders told stories under glowing trees. But Jack didn't join the party. He stood near a balcony, looking up at the stars. Scylla found him there. "You don't like crowds, do you?" she asked. Jack smiled faintly. "I prefer silence. It helps me think." She leaned on the balcony beside him. "What are you thinking about now? That the Garnock won't stop? Saving you was just the beginning." Scylla nodded. "Then we prepare." Jack turned to her. Your people need to be ready. You've seen what they're capable of. I have, she said. I won't be a helpless princess again.
Bye.
Want to train? I want to fight. Jack looked surprised but impressed. Then we start tomorrow. She smiled together. Together, Jack said. Behind them, music played. But out in space, beyond the peaceful skies, something darker waited. The royal halls were alive again, and the queen's heart was full of joy. But outside the peaceful walls of the kingdom, the stars were still dangerous. The Garnock had not spoken. No messages. Not as a guest, but as a guardian. Every day, he trained young Veltheran warriors, showed them how humans fought with. Many were surprised by his simple methods, but they listened. And they learned. Princess Sela trained beside them. She no longer wore long royal robes. Now she wore armor like the soldiers, silver and flexible. Her movements were sharp. Her aim was true, he said one morning, handing her a training blade. So have you, she replied. One afternoon, while Jack checked the outer defense, Systems Echo flew toward him quickly. We've got a problem, the little drone said. Jack looked up. Strong ones. Heading toward this system. Jack's face grew serious. How many ships? Echo paused. Too many. That night, the Queen called a meeting in the war chamber. Holograms of Garnock ships floated above the table. Dozens of them. Some were massive warships, designed for planetary attacks. The council members looked at each other nervously. They're coming, Jack said. They followed us back here. Lord Kale frowned. We are not ready for a full invasion. Jack looked at him. Then get ready. Yes. Sela stood beside her mother. Our people must fight. We must protect our home. But if we lure them toward the asteroid belt near your second moon, we can use the rocks for cover. Set traps, hit, and vanish. Kale? The Queen looked at Jack. He will. In the days that followed, the Veltheran army transformed. Their ships were modified with human tactics, stealth drives, faster weapons, and clever tools. She was no longer just a royal figure. She was one of them. The people called her the Silver Flame, and they called Jack the Ghost of Earth. Finally, the day arrived. The Garnock fleet entered Veltheron's space. Giant ships moved like monsters through the stars. Their weapons glowed with energy. Their smaller crafts buzzed ahead like hunting insects. But they didn't know what waited for them. Inside the asteroid field, hidden among the rocks, Jack and his fighters stood ready. He looked at Sila, who, he asked. She nodded. Let's make them regret coming here. The first wave of Garnock ships entered the field. Jack gave the signal. Laser mines exploded, sending metal and fire through the black sky. Enemy ships were torn apart before they knew what hit them. The Veltheron fighters darted from the shadows. Firing with speed and accuracy, Jack led from the front, his ship flying faster than the others. Sila was close behind, her weapons striking true. The Garnock began to fight back. Their large ships moved in, firing powerful beams that lit up the asteroid belt. Rocks broke apart. Ships were hit. Inside the cockpit shouted Jack, "That ship is 3 times our size." I know, Jack replied. That's why they'll never expect. The Garnock didn't react in time. Jack fired a special bomb into the ship's engine. It exploded in a chain reaction. Fire spreading through the massive hull, the enemy ship cracked and broke apart. Cheers rang across the communication lines, but the battle wasn't over. More Garnock fighters came in waves. Jack rallied the fleet. Others shouted, "For freedom," Sela added. The battle lasted hours. When it ended, the sky was filled with smoke and burning wrecks. The Queen stood on the palace balcony, watching the skies. Behind her, Jack and Sela stood side by side. Bruised but alive. "You did more than save my daughter," the Queen said. "You helped save our world." Jack looked at her humbly. "People did that. I only lit the fire." The Queen placed her hand on his shoulder. "Then let that fire never go out." Weeks later, a monument was built in the center of the royal gardens. It showed 2 figures, one human, one Veltheron, standing side by side, looking at the stars. At the base were these words, "Together." They faced the darkness and brought back the light. Jack stood before it one evening. Sela joined him, holding 2 cups of warm star tea. He smiled. "Think peace will last." Sela nodded. "If we keep building it, together." Jack took a sip. "Then let's get to work." And in the sky above them, the stars kept shining,